What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weekly GCap, the only source you'll ever need to catch up on all the gaming news from the last week. Now, this week hasn't been necessarily crazy in gaming, it's rather just been more interesting, I guess you could say. I will say, we have quite a couple stories to get through. I'm looking at my list, so I think we better just get going on it immediately. So let's go ahead and start with one of the headlines that it honestly just made me laugh as soon as I saw it. Microsoft has served Sony a subpoena, and yes, this is relating back to the Microsoft Activision acquisition. Basically, unless you've been living under a rock, Sony has been very against the idea of Microsoft acquiring Activision, and they've been doing absolutely everything in their power to keep this acquisition from going through. And this past week, Microsoft has served Sony a subpoena. Basically, if you don't know what that is, or just to break it down in the simplest terms, a subpoena is basically the legal way for Microsoft to be able to see what's going on behind the scenes at Sony in terms of numbers and who they're working with, what deals they have going on, which could also reveal things like what deals Sony currently has in place with like third parties, for example, with the upcoming Hogwarts Legacy. Basically, Sony has a bit of a limited time exclusivity on one of the mission packs in there. At least I believe it's a limited time exclusive. It might just be straight up exclusive. I'm not exactly sure what the subpoena is directly relating to. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of negotiation that Microsoft and Sony are going to have to do, or a middle ground they're going to have to come to as to what Sony wants to share. Whatever ends up coming out of this, we already 100% know that the only reason they're doing this is so they can use it against Sony anytime that Sony goes off on one of their tangents saying how, oh, this acquisition is so unfair, look at their numbers, this, that, and the other, so that Microsoft can flip it on them and be like, hey, remember that subpoena situation? Well, here are the numbers. You'll be just fine. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it thrice, and now I'm saying it for the fourth time. This has been going on for way too long. I can't wait for it to go through. Granted, I understand why there have been so many hurdles up to this point. I mean, this is the biggest acquisition in gaming, period. I don't know if it's the biggest acquisition in, like, all of media, but in terms of gaming, definitely. As redundant as these headlines are, you already know I'll be here updating you guys as soon as anything else happens in this whole situation, which at this rate, seems like we'll probably be talking about it again next week. Now, on this show, I tend to not cover rumors or leaks, but this one, look, I have a little bit of a bias. So Insider Gaming put up an article covering 11 games that Ubisoft is going to be putting out within the next year, or that is rumored to be coming out within the next year, and one of them happened to be The Crew 3. Apparently, it started in development as just The Crew 2 DLC before it became something bigger, and now they're turning it into a full game, which, hey, I'm okay with that. I loved The Crew 1, absolutely adored The Crew 2. I played that game like crazy at launch, and I still play it pretty often to this day, so I'm really excited for The Crew 3. Again, on this show, I always try to veer away from talking about leaks and rumors because you hear about that stuff all over the internet. I always just try to talk about the real stories. However, I will kind of bend that rule a bit if there's like some tangible proof, or if it actually like genuinely gets me hyped up or interested, or if there's pictures backing it up, like for example in last week's Weekly GCap when we talked about the Suicide Squad and the whole Battle Pass and currency situation. But yeah, for this one, it got me pretty hyped when I saw the headline, so I had to talk about it. Alright, moving on to our next story here. Starting in April, Nintendo will be looking to ramp up the production of the Nintendo Switch. Now, they haven't gone on record to state a precise target of how many more Switches they're looking to make, or by how many % they're looking to raise their total stock of Switches by. But I do find this very interesting because if we look back to November, they had lowered their sales forecast from 21 million down to 19 million, which that's a whole 2 million units. That's nothing to scoff at. And now, just a few short months later, they're looking to ramp up production again. But apparently, they're convinced that now they can make more and demand remains strong for the Switch, which that's surprising, and it's honestly kind of scary for the PS2. The PS2 is sitting at a whopping 158 million total sales, and the Switch, after just 7 years on the market, is catching up to that. At a pretty rapid pace, too. It is sitting at 118.3 million. Now, give or take, there's always going to be, just a few caveats to those numbers, but that's nothing to scoff at. 118 million, that's getting pretty close. That's only 40 million off. And if it is as they say and demand still remains strong and they're looking to even ramp up production 7th year in, I think that they may actually end up reaching, if not surpassing, the PS2, which is insane. On to our next story. Marvel Avengers will no longer receive support after September of 2023. Now, this one, I can't really say it makes me sad because I did play the game a lot at launch. Like, I played through the single player campaign. I loved it. I loved the story, the characters, the action felt good. However, I fell off quickly after. I wasn't there for the whole live gaming service thing. I'm sorry, but if they were to make an Avengers game, I was hoping it would just be sort of like your Batman or Spider-Man games. You hop in, it's a nice single player experience, and hey, even if there's co-op, maybe there could be like some fun modes for that. But the fact that the game was kind of built around those multiplayer live service mechanics, just it didn't really stick with me. Now, I'm a sucker for looter shooters and everything like that, but I'm not looking to play an Avengers game based around it. And unfortunately, you know, I was willing to give it a shot, but the gameplay just really wasn't there. It got repetitive really fast, and I fell off. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because after September, they said that the game servers will still be up, so you can still play with your friends. However, no more updates will be coming to the game, so there won't be any more content, and it will also be delisted from the storefronts like Xbox Store and the PlayStation Store, Steam, etc. Any in-game cosmetics will also then be free, which is pretty nice. So if you have the game now and you were thinking of buying a certain skin, just hold off until September. Everything will be free. And again, after September, apparently the servers will still be up. So you can still play the game online, solo, and with friends. You can keep your cosmetics. You can get the other cosmetics that are going free. So, hey, if you never hopped into Avengers before, maybe it's worth picking it up digitally. I know it's available on PlayStation Plus Extra. And I looked online recently. It was literally $10 to get a brand new sealed copy on Xbox One and only $15 for the PS4. So if you never got to give the game a shot, now may actually be the time to do it. Next up, Forspoken got destroyed by critics. I cannot emphasize this enough. It wasn't even just critics. It was like online reviewers, YouTubers. This game got just demolished. Over on Metacritic, it's sitting at a 67 with a 4.0 user score. Dude, that just hurts. There was a bunch of controversy surrounding this game before launch just due to the fact that people weren't very impressed with the gameplay that they were seeing, whether it be through demos, trailers, etc. It's honestly a shame. I was really looking forward to this game. I was really hyped for it. I don't have a PS5 yet, but as soon as I get one, this was going to be like one of my day one purchases for it, and I'm still gonna get it because I like trying things for myself. I'm weird, and there's been a lot of games that people dunk on, but I still enjoy, like Cyberpunk at launch. Despite the performance issues, I loved it, and hey, what do you know, everybody's come around and they love it now. Obviously, this is a different circumstance. Like, sure, the game might have a few glitches or be buggy, but the main complaint just seems to be that the game is not really interesting in general. There was also a lot of controversy around the whole review code situation. Some people got their codes, some people didn't. The embargoes were a little suspicious. Just a whole lot of shady stuff. It's actually not too dissimilar from the Callisto Protocol a couple months ago, and we know how that turned out. Again, I'm keeping my hopes up, and I'm gonna try the game for myself before passing off too much judgment. But hey, in happier news, the embargo for reviews on the Dead Space remake lifted yesterday, and the reviews are amazing. It is sitting at an 89 on Metacritic, and that makes me so happy. Do you want to know why? Because that means that it is tied with the Xbox 360 original, also at 89. Obviously, this could change. It could go down or it could go up, but I just thought it was funny that they're literally tied right now. My two most anticipated games this year are Dead Space Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake. I know it's sad that my two most anticipated games are remakes. It just kind of goes to speak about the current state of gaming. But hey, regardless, I'm super excited to check this one out. Also, just bouncing off of that comment I just made a few seconds ago about these two being my most anticipated games of the year, there's a story we're going to be talking about later in this show regarding some upcoming games, and let's just say that this year is looking pretty positive for games overall. All I'm saying is, it's starting to look like one of the better years for gaming ever since the thing happened. Seems like everything's finally falling back into order, so you love to see it. And in other upcoming gaming news, the Gollum game, if y'all even remember that was announced so long ago and then just kind of got delayed and pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. But now, apparently, its official release window will be between April and September of 2023. That is such a large window. Why couldn't they just say summer? I mean, personally, I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. I mean, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, then this could be cool for you. The only Lord of the Rings that I know was Lego Lord of the Rings on PS3. But hey, more video games the better. I figured I'd mention it just in case there is any Lord of the Rings fans watching this video that were interested in this game. And for our next story, Microsoft confirms that they will be at E3 along with confirming a standalone showcase for Starfield. So I'm going to be talking more about that standalone showcase for Starfield later in this show. But hearing that Microsoft is going to be at E3 it's honestly amazing. It gives me flashbacks to like the early 2000s with all their amazing E3 conferences. But obviously E3 is kind of, well, not really been a thing for the last couple years. So it makes me really happy seeing it come back. Obviously, the summer game show that Jeff Keighley has been doing, along with like all these other standalone gaming shows that these companies have been doing, like, I like them. It works. It's cool seeing these companies doing something else and diversifying outside of E3 and kind of coming into their own. However, let's not lie to ourselves. Nothing beats that like giddy feeling you get leading up to E3 week, not knowing what games are going to be revealed, what's going to get announced. it's almost like Christmas for gamers in the middle of summer. You know what I mean? It's a totally different vibe. It's totally different air, and I'm really excited to see E3 come back. And again, with Microsoft being there, it gives me hope that maybe other developers and publishers will be like, hey, E3 is still a thing. Microsoft, you know, one of the main console guys is going to be there, so let's get over there too. And Starfield finally having its own like standalone show, that makes me very happy. I'm hoping that at that standalone showcase we can get a release date. Again, this story kind of ties into another story that I have lined up later in the show, but all I'm going to say for now is that I suspect Starfield will be coming like later in the year, like August, September probably. And for our next story, GoldenEye will be coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service and Xbox Game Pass on the 27th, aka, well, today. So if you're watching this, go download it. If you're a bit too young to remember this game or you never got to play it, trust me, it is worth the playthrough. Whether you have a Switch or whether you have it on Xbox, please give the game a shot. This one is a classic. As for me, by the time you guys are seeing this video, yeah, I'm probably playing GoldenEye right now. Unfortunately, the multiplayer mode is going to be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, but honestly, I don't know how bad of a thing that is. I mean, it's going to be kind of weird how it's set up. Essentially, it's going to be utilizing the Nintendo emulator to do the multiplayer, and since it's just an emulator, it means that it isn't like a specifically built from the ground up online system, which means that if you're playing multiplayer on the Nintendo Switch online, it's still going to be split screen. So say you're at your house and your buddy is at his house and you guys go to do like multiplayer, it's still going to be split screen. And with that obviously comes the early 2000s screen peeking. So yeah, if you're a Nintendo Switch and you want to play with your buddies online on GoldenEye, just keep in mind they're probably going to be screen peeking. But hey, the way I see it, it's still a good thing regardless. It makes it accessible for more people, and it makes them more likely to try it if they're able to play it with their friends. And again, this is an older game, so it's nice to see them at least making an effort to preserve video games for once. I'm just hoping a lot of people give this one a shot because it is an absolute classic, and I want the younger generation to experience this game just to see what FPSs were like before like 2007. And hey, who knows, maybe if it does well enough or if enough people download it, maybe we could finally get that long rumored GoldenEye remake to come out. I'm just saying, it would be pretty cool. Next up for game releases, WWE 2K23 will be releasing on March 17th with a standard, cross-gen, deluxe, and icon edition. Is that enough editions for you? I'm just joking. That's actually not that bad compared to most games. I've seen some games that have like 6 different versions. I'll never understand it, man. I just want to buy the game. Give me the case, the disc, and we're all good. Funnily enough, John Cena is on the cover. I feel like he's been on the cover of a lot of these WWE games, but yeah. I used to love the WWE games. I haven't played one since like 2K15 probably, so I mean, if this one comes to like one of them services like Game Pass or PS Plus Extra or Premium, then I'll probably at least give it a shot, but in terms of just outright buying it, probably not. I mean, WWE 2K22 literally just came to PS Plus Extra like a week or two ago, so if anything, if I need a more modern WWE fix, which doesn't happen often, I'll probably just go play that one. And for our next story, Dolphin Emulator made its way to the Series S and Series X. If you don't know what Dolphin is, it's essentially just an emulator for GameCube and Wii games, and while I believe that it was accessible on the Series S and Series X before, I believe there's just been some revisions made to it to make it actually, you know, more usable and not a complete disaster to try and run. Because the last time I checked in on it, it wasn't doing too hot. Performance was hit or miss. Some of the games didn't work, but now it just seems to run quite smoothly, which is awesome. Obviously, in order to use this, you have to do a little bit of tinkering with your system. So hey, I'm putting my hands up, Microsoft. I didn't tell anybody to do anything. I'm just saying that it's available. Don't come for me. I didn't show anybody how to do it. I didn't give any details on it. YouTube can't attack me. Microsoft can't attack me. I'm innocent. I'm not supporting piracy. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm relaying the news. Don't shoot the messenger. Thank you. This next story is, I don't really believe it. Okay, so the day before, if y'all have heard about that game, it was delisted from Steam, and we're just gonna read the tweet that they put up. This was their tweet, and I quote, "Dear fans, right before the release, Steam blocked our game page at the request of a private individual because of the name the day before. As you know, our game was announced in January 2021. At the time of the announcement, the day before game's trademark was available. After the announcement of the game, the above-mentioned individual filled out an application before us to register the game trademark the day before in the United States." God, I do not believe this. What's next? Previously, we were not aware of the existence of claims. We found out about this only on January 19th, 2023 when we received a complaint from him and a request to contact him. Now we find out all the circumstances of the incident and we will definitely solve everything. We previously planned to post a lengthy gameplay video later this month, but we'll have to sort this issue out first. We will post a video ASAP. As a result, we have made the difficult decision to postpone the launch to November 10th, 2023. We understand this may disappoint many of our fans, however, we want to ensure we release the best possible game. Our 100% focus remains on the game itself and how to deliver you the best game possible. Thank you, and we hope for your support. Sincerely, Mytona and Fantastic. So, I really don't believe this. You want to know what I think happened, okay? I think they saw all the backlash to their game online. They're like, oh no, everybody was on our side, but now everybody's hating us. It's sort of like that situation with the Abandoned game just a few months ago. So hey, if you want my opinion, I think this is just a BS excuse for them to be able to delay their game without too much backlash. Just due to the fact that they did really give, like, very minimal details on this. Maybe that's a legal thing. Maybe they just seriously couldn't give any more details on it, but it just seemed very unspecific, very vague, seemed very, you know, out of nowhere and random. And it's funny that they didn't notice this until now, even though apparently the trademark was made like, what, a year and a half ago. It was only brought to their attention now. I don't know. Again, maybe this is a real thing. Anything's possible. We'll just have to see what happens with this one. If you want my personal take on it, I think they just wanted an excuse to delay their game by like 8 months just so they could fix it up and maybe make it, I don't know, less hated by the time that it releases compared to how it is now, because yeah, feedback to it online hasn't been good at all. But hey, it is what it is. Like that one famous quote says that everybody seems to recite, a delayed game is eventually good, while a bad game is just a pile of shite forever. I don't think anybody even knows what that quote was word for word anymore, but it was basically saying the same thing as what I just said. We have 2 more stories to go today, and this second to last one honestly makes me kind of depressed. EA added loot boxes to the Skate beta. Yay, everybody wanted loot boxes. Oh, let me tell you about these loot boxes, actually. They can be purchased with 2 in-game currencies, one called stars and the other called taps. You get stars for completing in-game challenges. Taps, I'm not really sure how they work, and then the stars. The loot boxes are priced between 2 to 3 stars, 3-star boxes being the most valuable. Tell me if you've heard this before. Oh yeah, gacha games on mobile. Oh, and apparently they aren't called loot boxes, guys. They're called swag bags. This honestly makes me depressed. Me and my homies, we used to grow up playing like MW2 in 2009, grinding out camos, doing big challenges, getting tactical nukes. Nowadays, kids are grinding stars for swag bags. Not gonna linger on this one for too long. I mean, it is a free-to-play game after all, so they do gotta make their bags somehow. I wish it could have been done any other way. I thought EA learned their lesson after Battlefront 2, but apparently not. 'Tis what it is. We'll see how egregious it is. I mean, it's a skating game, so it's not like it can really change the gameplay. It's not like you're gonna get an advantage from getting, I don't know, a certain set of tires from swag bags. Unless that is a thing. If that ends up being a thing, then oh yeah, you can totally bet I'll be here on this channel ranting and raising hell about it. But as long as it stays cosmetic only and it's just, you know, something kind of passive for them to make some more money, and then 'tis what it is. And again, right now you can only buy them with in-game currencies, but come on, dude, it's a free-to-play game. We know how this goes. They always started with being like, you can only buy this with in-game currencies, it's cosmetic only, and then, well, Battlefront 2. Alright, and for our final story, this is less of a story and more just like an event that happened. It was the Xbox Developer Direct, and I absolutely love this, okay? Me and one of my buddies, we sat in a Discord call, and we, like, watched it together with that Discord feature that, like, lets you watch the same thing at the same time. It's pretty cool. Basically, there was 4 things that got release dates and were talked more about, and 1 surprise game that we'll definitely be talking about, because dude, I'm so giddy even thinking about it. So first up, we had Minecraft Legends, which unfortunately, I was a little late to tune into the stream, so I didn't exactly get to see all of the Minecraft Legends stuff. Apparently, they were just talking about a PvP mode, so, you know, that is what it is. PvP, Minecraft Legends, fun. From my understanding, Minecraft Legends is basically going to be like Minecraft meets Age of Empires, sort of, from what I've been seeing. Which, hey, that could be cool, and that also got a release date. I don't think it had a release date before, maybe it did, but just in case it didn't, it'll be coming out April 18th, so hey, not even 3 months till that one comes out. I'm really excited for it. Anytime anything Minecraft comes out, I'm a sucker for it. I hop right on it. Like Minecraft Dungeons, when that released, I was all over that, beat that the same day that it came out. Loved that game to death. I'm glad to see that they're branching out with the Minecraft IP and trying other things, but I'm also glad that they're not taking it to an egregious extent and making like too many games or too many other side projects with it. Like, it's just the right balance, and they're only doing it with things that would make sense. They're not abusing the IP, so I'm cool with that. Next up, they talked about Forza Motorsport, but this one's a little weird. They didn't have a release date for it, which is kind of odd considering everything else here had a release date, and Forza, like, looking at it almost looks like it's good to go, man. Like, this game looks pristine. I mean, understandably, they do have a lot of other stuff happening this year. I mean, again, we just talked about it, Minecraft Legends coming out April 18th, and then there's a few other games coming out after that. This one is apparently just coming in 2023, so I'm assuming it's going to be way later in the year after my estimated Starfield release of, you know, August and September. I'm assuming this will probably be more of like a holiday release. I'm thinking maybe November, early December, just because obviously Microsoft wouldn't want to be competing against themselves with their games that they have lined up for Xbox Game Pass and their exclusives in general. After that, they talked about some stuff with Elder Scrolls Online, and honestly, I've never even played Elder Scrolls Online, but for Elder Scrolls players, it seems like it was a pretty substantial update. They announced that most of, if like not all of the previous DLC was going free, which is insane. I don't believe it was free for everybody to just own, but there's like a free trial for Elder Scrolls Online Plus, which gives you access to all of that stuff, which is quite cool. I love when developers do stuff like this just to like give back to the fans and also allow like newer players to get into it. I think that stuff is awesome. So if you're new to ESO or if you've been wanting to try it out, now is definitely the time to do it. Definitely utilize that trial and just see what you think of the game and the expansions and such before the new one comes out. They also announced that new expansion will be coming out in June. Next up, Hi-Fi Rush. This game actually came out, well, 2 days ago from the time that you guys are seeing this video. Like as soon as the show ended, the game went up, which is amazing. I honestly wish we could get more cool little shadow drops like this, because while it's fun getting hyped up for games, sometimes it is cool just to watch an event and immediately after be like, hey, you can play this game. That game that we just showed you for the first time, have fun. That's what they did here. It's available through Game Pass. Unfortunately, it is not on last-gen consoles like Xbox One, One S, or One X. It is only on the Series X and Series S, and unfortunately, I do not have a Series S or a Series X yet, but I'm saving up for one, and I plan to be buying one soon, so I'm quite excited to dive into this. This game looks right on my alley, okay? I am a huge music nerd, you know, when it comes to, like, following beats and rhythms and just anything music in general, really. That on top of the fact that the game's like mechanics were based around platforming and action and combos. It's all of my favorite elements combined into one. And the art style, it's very beautiful Joe, I would say. Like, that's kind of what it reminded me of, the art style at least. But yeah, as soon as I get the chance, this will be a game that I'll be checking out. And again, if you have a Series S, Series X, or if you have like Game Pass on PC, you can check it out right now. And then the final game they covered, Redfall. This one took up like the most amount of time out of any game that they talked about yesterday. This one had a lot of screen time. Me and my friend in the call were even saying that too. We were like, dude, Redfall is getting like all the screen time right now. Like, it got double what Forza got. This game looks pretty cool though. I'm quite excited for it. It looks to be a blend of like Dishonored meets vampires. It's basically the traditional Arcane open world formula of where you have a certain task, but there's multiple ways to do those tasks, and in between there's a lot of shooting and action with vampires and monsters and abilities that you have and stuff like that. This game just looks like a fun mishmash of a lot of different ideas. The developers seem very enthusiastic and passionate about it, so I'm quite excited to check this one out as well. 2022 was a little worrisome for Microsoft. They really didn't have any big games last year, if any, that I can think of, but this year is definitely looking a lot better. Obviously, Hi-Fi Rush just came out the other day, and then we have Minecraft Legends coming out in not even 3 months, just a few weeks after that. Actually, it'll only be 2 weeks, and then Redfall will be coming out, and then a month after that, we're gonna have the Elder Scrolls Online expansion, which obviously that's not like a standalone game, but there's definitely still a respectable amount of players that play the Elder Scrolls Online, and inevitably when there's an expansion coming out or a game is buzzing, there's new players that are gonna hop in, so that'll definitely boost their sales at least for a little bit. And then I'm assuming like maybe 2-3 months after that at most is probably when we're going to see Starfield, somewhere in that late July, somewhere in September time frame, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know when else they'd be dropping this game, because it's supposed to be coming out in summer, so I don't think it would come out any later than that unless it gets delayed again. And then I'm just going to take a guess and say that Forza is going to be coming out like 2 months after that, November, December, somewhere like that, the holiday game. Yeah, all in all, this was Xbox's first attempt at something like this, like a direct type of showcase, and I thought that they did a really good job. We don't really get stuff like this from Microsoft too often, so it was cool seeing behind the scenes, seeing what the developers are up to, and just hearing from the developers directly for once. None of this PR trash, none of this fancy speak from the publishers and all these statements or whatever. It was just developers talking about something they're passionate about, talking about what they're working on. I loved it. I definitely want to see more like this, not just from Microsoft, but like all the gaming companies in general going forward. Like, I love showcases like this. It was honestly really entertaining and intriguing to watch. It was just, it was a blast. But yeah, I can already tell that this one was a bit of a longer episode, so if you stuck around all the way to the end, first off, thank you. But second, I want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite story from this week? Are you excited for any of the games that got a release date at the Xbox Showcase the other day? Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're excited for, I'd love to hear from you guys. That concludes episode 3 of Weekly GCap, and again, thank you guys so much for all the support on these videos. Like, this is just my second channel. I wanted to start something fun, cover some gaming news, and you guys have been nothing but supportive of it so far, and it seriously means the world to me. But yeah, that's that. I'll see you guys back here next Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern for more Weekly GCap. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day and weekend. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.